So all of them are governed by the same section. So it's quite true that this might be seen as a precedent-setting case in order to threaten any of those who might be threatening to the powerful people. And it's interesting that you mentioned the Auditor General, because for reasons that the AG is basically in the same position as the public protector in terms of dealing with powerful forces in society. That's why the Constitutional Court in the 90s said that those two institutions must be treated differently from the other Chapter 9 institutions. And in respect of those two in particular, there must be a 2/3 majority for a removal of a person in order to try and protect them, almost like judges and so on. But the point which is said, it goes back to what we are talking about, solidarity and the ability for us to work together. You've just reminded me that, when we started this fight around the rules of parliament and Section 194, it was January 2020. And it's been going on. What happened yesterday is just been a culmination of that fight. And when we started, actually in the papers in this case, we cited as parties all the political parties, and we also cited all the Chapter 9 institutions. And we were hoping that some of them would come in and assist and say, no, these rules will be unfair and so on. Not even one of them participated or put in papers. And that's the story of us, because everyone is scared or is a coward, or they think with their stomach. And I'm sure they all thought that the rules were risky for them, but they thought if we raise our head, we will be chopped and lose our jobs and so on. And so they were quiet. And I'm sure they were praying that we succeed in fighting some of the rules, because the rules were clearly unfair, such as the one that would have ensured that the public protector now would be facing that inquiry alone without any legal representation. But so even obvious things like that, people were not prepared to fight because they were protecting their jobs. And as they say, until the day they come for you, you will think, hey, I should have supported them, those other people that they were coming for. But it's the kind of things that we need to inculcate in our people, that you can't, when you're fighting, you have to sacrifice. There's no fight where you're going to come out unscathed. Those of us who tried boxing unsuccessfully will tell you, you can't go into a fight and win a fight, and you still end up yourself with a few bruises. And so unless if people are prepared to go and get dirty and into the ring themselves, then there's not going to be any stress. And it's the idea of, I had even forgotten about this, the fact that we had actually brought these people on. Imagine if they had all come around at that time and said, this is nonsense, and supported the public protector. The fight would have been much stronger, but we had to do it alone because people decided to put their heads on the sand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mpofu. You have two questions that I'm just going to read from my DM.
Sure.
The first question to you is that how can members of the public protect the public protector? That was a very direct and short question from Jack. Then I have another question from Advocate Luana. His question goes like this. How does one reconcile paragraph 1? I want to believe he's referring to the judgment, which says the public protector's application was into section 172 1 of the Constitution and not section 172 2, with court characterization of suspension such as a conduct and or decision in paragraph 4 and only as decision in paragraph 187.5, the order. It continues to say, can one say with absolute certainty in these circumstances that the judgment is crystal clear as regards import of order? I'm alive to the fact that the DA has now lodged an application for leave to appeal directly to the Constitutional Court, perhaps an admission that section 172 subsection 2 isn't triggered.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the second question from Ngalwana is I've already answered that question, and that is that he's quite right. That's the distinction I was making between conduct and decision. It's one of the reasons that we have raised in our letter for rejecting the notion that what we're dealing with here is a 172.2a situation. He will know better than most that the wording of 172.1a speaks directly to conduct, to invalidation of law or conduct, and the issue of decisions is usually dealt with in terms of a review. So in a way, it might be a technicality, but it is another sign that 172.2 is not at issue here. We are of the view that this is a decision made in terms of 172.1b, and let me explain that so that we don't talk in legalese here. The section of the Constitution that says that you can challenge any law or conduct. In other words, if somebody does something to you and you feel that it's in breach of the Constitution, you can go to the court simply to say that the court must declare that that act to be unconstitutional. Then, after that, there's 1B, which then says that the court can then give any just and equitable remedy. In other words, you may not simply want a declarator, but you might also want the court to do something about it. So that's why the two orders in this current judgment go like that. The first one says that the decision is declared to be invalid, and the reading of the DA is that the word decision there is synonymous with conduct. Ours is different. Yeah. But the important order is the one setting aside the suspension, because that one, let's assume we are wrong about the first one, and conduct and decision are not distinguishable. But the second order certainly is an order of a just and equitable remedy flowing from the first one. It's not a 172.2b decision. It's a 172.1b decision. So that's our argument. And then, of course, the third argument is, which the PP read out, is the fact that in any event, even if we're wrong in all those things, the decision is not just based on constitutional grounds, it's also based on common law bias, because the court have gone even further, because we were talking about perceptions of bias on the part of the president. But if you read paragraph 157 of the judgment, you'll see that the court actually says the president was biased and that's a serious thing. Actual bias, not the reasonable perception of bias. They say in this particular instance he was biased, and therefore that is a common law ground for the judgment, which even if we are wrong, is not based on 172(1)(a) by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, that's the answer to that. Yeah. Did I miss anything, Pastor?
No, you covered it all. Oh yeah, you did cover it all. There was this one, but I am just informed that in fact the question it was not directed only to you. That how do we protect the office of,
Oh
in fact,
yes,
the public protector?
yes.
Uh, yes, but then do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, no, a very quick one, which is to say,
Oh,
I think we've already dealt with that as well, because the point about this is that why it beats me how we can keep quiet when somebody is being obviously crucified, you know, and somebody said earlier that he was a member of the ANC. Even at that level, how would you keep quiet when your organization is being clearly, I don't know, adopted or by some opposition party, and they're just following blindly, and nobody says, I'm a member of this organization. I can't expect it to be sitting there crucifying a black woman on a daily basis, because that's how politicians are supposed to be held to account. If there was an uproar in the country that says, no, this is harassment and what have you, there's no political party that would go and do what they do in parliament, because they would know that they will lose votes because people can see through this. Get away with it because their members are fine with them following a DA agenda, which is clear, and actually literally working hand in hand against someone that they are supposed to be protecting. Nobody, there've been conferences of the ANC and all sorts of things. No one even, it's like it's not even happening. And yet it's happening in front of them. So those representatives are right. If they have to sell out, let them sell out, because nobody um, uh, even raises nobody says, look, how can you do this? I mean, it's so obvious. You don't have to be a lawyer to see what is happening there in Parliament. Yeah. But anyway, that's my only comment. Yeah.
no, thank you, Advocate. I do have again a queen in our space, so I'm just gonna skip all the men that came before her and acknowledge the presence of a Mrs. N. It's nice when we have ladies participating in this particular space. Like I say, they do have a special sense that they are able to look into things that which unfortunately for us men sometimes we overlook or we think little of. So Mrs. N, my queen, the platform is yours.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone, to all the speakers and listeners, and the host as well. I think all my questions literally were answered by Advocate Mpofu. I just want to touch on, or actually ask, Mr. Mpofu. So with regards to the acting public protector, because you said that you can't indulge much into it, what is the way forward with regards to like her statement saying that the current public protector is still suspended and she cannot go back into office? So what is the next forward or the steps, if you can just indulge with regards to that? Like, I think as a citizen, I would like to know what's going to happen, or what can be the legal reactions with regards to that. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, if the members of parliament, if they can answer, is as well with regards to the inquiry through the 194. We can see the biasness with regards to the inquiry, like the positions and what's happening and all of that. What are they doing as members of parliament, and what is the execution afterwards? Because if they are going to take a decision and it does go in favor of parliamentary against the public protector, but the questions and because you can obviously see that the questions that have been asked from opposition parties, from the DA, and it's basically biased. So my question is that when something happens, like a decision that occurs with regards to that, I can see that with regards to personal decisions or whatever that might be, what will be the outcome with regards to that? Because I don't believe that going forward, whatever decision or outcome, if it is against, I'm not saying that Advocate Busisiwe is innocent or whatever, I'm just saying, sorry. But all I'm saying is that the biasness with regards to the parliamentary itself, what's going to happen, especially with regards to what's happening with regards to the outcome, the judgment that came out. We can see that DA is going all fronts, and it becomes a question, what's happening? Like, is there something, an agenda that we don't know as citizens? What is the DA hiding? What do they not want us as citizens not to find out with regards or whatever the PP is investigating? Because it's got questions, like I'm asking myself as a citizen, like what is actually going on? So I don't know if I can just get answers or maybe a clarity with regards to that. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you kindly, Advocate.
Yeah. Okay. The first one is, I think I said it earlier, maybe Ms. Anne was not here, that there's a case which has just been instituted this evening, which will be hopefully heard in the Western Cape High Court in the next few days, depending on availability of the charges and all that. And if that case is successful, it will then mean that the effect of the DA notice of application for leave to appeal is reversed. Basically, just again to try and simplify it, what happens is that if there's an appeal, a decision then gets suspended, and the reason for that is that it would then mean, if you appeal and then you succeed, but the judgment has already been executed, then your success on appeal would be meaningless here. So that's what we call the general rule there. But under certain circumstances, you can go to court as the winning party, so to speak, to say that despite the fact that there's an appeal, the judgment should still be executed because of this and that reason, which I don't need to get into now. Yeah. So that's where we are now. So the loser goes to court, appeals, with the hope that the success of the winner will be suspended. But the law then provides for exceptions to that rule to be able to, for you to say, under this and the circumstances, the judgment should be executed, despite the fact that there's a pending appeal. So that's really what's going to happen. So you can just watch the space in the next few days. The other one thing about the 194 committee, I mean, it's as I say, it's just a shame that society can be quiet in front, when something like that is happening in front of them. But it is what it is. I think that I can't really put it better than the person who said we're not angry enough, and that's why we get taken advantage of. You know, if there were people outside there marching and demanding justice and fairness and lack of bias and all that, it would certainly make a difference. But we sit there on our own, and there's a general acceptance of what happens here. But as they say, karma has its own ways of dealing with these things, because whatever is happening, you can be sure this won't be the last impeachment. So I said it to them the other day that sometimes they say when you dig a grave, you mustn't dig it too deep, in case you're the one who's going to end up in it. So if this is the way impeachments are going to be carried on going forward, then I pity those who will be impeached in the future. And it might include those that they think are their favorites. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Advocate. We do have one of my favorite truth teller and an author, and equally someone who has an independent view, who is not biased, who tells the truth as it is, who's not afraid rather to challenge presidents, journalists, houses that might not even call her again for an interview, who's a true reflection of what we call not just I wouldn't say journalism, but an analytical person who's able to bring proper analysis into the current political landscape and beyond, and give a proper view. Let me welcome, ladies and gentlemen, one of our esteemed members, Meg Kim, and equally say that all the men who got here before her, unfortunately, I will always be on the side of women. So, Kim, you are most welcome and be greeted. Once more, thank you for being with us and having spent time. We know that it's not just today. You are always with us. You are one of us. So you are appreciated. Queen Kim, you may take the platform.
Hi, good evening. Gosh, I was reluctant to speak, and now after that introduction, which is far too kind, I feel very speechless and wordless. But thank you for putting me before. I do apologize to the men except for Bo, who I think owes me a call from about 3 years ago. But I just wanted to say something, related to what Advocate Mpofu said, and it's been my big issue, and perhaps just to moan about it and reflect on it, that not one single person in the ANC, and I've said this on several forums, but I'm repeating it, hasn't got the courage or the sense of ethics to stand down on this matter flummoxes me. I cannot understand that not one person in the entire ANC has an ethical fiber or moral backbone to say, not in my name. And I find it shocking, and I think we should amplify this. And to just evoke a memory, I remember I was a member of the ANC and until Marikana, and then I was very inspired by Advocate Mpofu. And when he wrote a very profound article to say, I never left the ANC left me. And it's a story I'll never forget. And I think as true patriots of South Africa, we have to say the ANC is no longer with the people. It's no longer with justice. It's no longer with truth. And perhaps it's about time that we don't support this organization who doesn't support probably one of the greatest women of our time, the current public protector. And I don't know how we just, that there can't be one single person standing up in that organization. It's absolutely shocking. And I think I don't have a solution. I just wanted to say that it appalls me every day. And I think my second and last point is that as citizens of this country, we don't stand up and speak out. And Malcolm X, who's I think probably one of the greatest men that ever lived, said the greatest thing we can do for ourselves is to think for ourselves. And I'm beginning to think that this country is bereft of thinking, that our problem isn't political ideology or anything else, but a thought, a population and a political body that doesn't think, apart from very few people, and many of them are on this forum today. And I think that's terrible, that we just don't object when we see a very brilliant Black woman being violated in our front of our very eyes. And I think we must all just reflect on our action and ask what we can do more. And it's costly for us that have stood for the public protector and for other people. We've lost jobs. We are victimized. We are villainized. But you know what? I think as the public protector is saying, I perish if I need to for the truth. I think we have to have a commitment amongst true revolutionaries to say, well, if we perish and if we make sacrifices, it's for a bigger cause. And my final thing, this will be my final point. I really would like to commend Advocate Mpofu for standing for a greater cause, because whether he wins technically or not in this battle, and whether the public protector triumphs, there's such a greater fight. And I hope we're all seeing that for the justice for generations to come, that are going to look back and say these people stood up. And I commend all of you. And there's so many in this forum. And I think to an organization like the ATM, who it's not my party of support, but I think you've done such a brilliant job. You've punched above your weight. You've spoken out when others haven't, and to the EFF. So thank you so much, and for allowing me on this forum when actually I feel my voice is very unimportant, and it's a privilege to speak amongst you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. I think your voice is very much of great value to this team and anyone who's listening here and beyond. Advocate Mpofu, if you have any comment to that, to
No,
what Kim has just alluded.
no, not much. Thanks so much for the kind words, Kim. No, Kim is always refreshing to listen to. I'm glad that I could see that she was doing what I normally do, just to sit and listen. But sometimes it becomes irresistible to talk. But your contribution, Kim, I think is very important, because we need voices. We really do. We, and in all our little corners, we should use our activism to make the situation to change. I always say, it shouldn't matter where you are, whether you're a lawyer or a doctor or a panel beater or whatever. In that space where you are in, make sure that you rock the boat a little bit, and not conform to some nonsensical rules, because you can't change a system by playing to its own rules. You need to a revolution is by its nature disruptive, and seeks to change things rather than to keep them as they are, or conform. So it's a balance, because you need to be in the space, but not to conform. And I think that people like him have done that in all the spaces that they've occupied. Just you must just be the mad one until people kind of catch up and see what you are trying to tell them, or hear what you are trying to tell them. Thanks.
Thank you, advocate. Let me bring up in a second. Mr. T, where are you? Mr. T, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, leader. Let me see who we have next. And just a reminder, we have to shut down in about 15 or so minutes. So we ask that people keep it nice and short. Let's go to Fanny, and then we'll take Senzo and Bo. Mavela, we see your hand. We will come to you, leader. We just want to take new speakers first. Oh yes, Joseph too. So yeah, we'll take. Those speakers first, and then come back to those who've already spoken. My leader.
No, thank you very much. Get up in that order. Funny, you may take the platform.
Good evening, everyone. The speakers who spoke before everyone and who spoke before me, the leadership and all the advocates, journalists, and everyone who's at the speakers. I think I'll just wrap up in 2 minutes. I do not have time. I don't know if maybe you can hear that I'm on my way somewhere. So this kind of basis that, however, if I get myself occupied, I'll just make a plan so that I join you guys anytime. So for the past 2-3 days, the political arena, the political space in South Africa was very exciting, very exciting to me. Those who are mourning, but they mustn't disturb us who are celebrating. And then SADC also, I can see the progressive decision that was taken by Botswana and Zambia, abolishing their passports so that they can move freely between the two countries, their citizens. That's a very progressive move. Like, especially killing the structures of colonization. Like the colonizer died, and then the Africans in Botswana and Namibia decided to kill one of the colonial legacy. That's a very progressive move. And the court judgment granting advocate Mkhwebane to office, something positive, even though there are challenges which we are all not sure whether they're going to succeed or not. The likes of colleague wanting not to return to office. But for on my side, I can say maybe we've had a great we've had a great time at the political space for the past 2 days. So that I do not have a lot to say. I do not have a lot to say. Even my concentration is taken somewhat, but then I'll do you guys. I don't know when, but whenever we have this kind of stuff, then I'll do it you guys. And then thank you.
Thank you very much, Fanny. In fact, I was wondering if Advocate Mpofu was able to hear you clearly. I've been struggling to hear you, but you've been coming back and forth, so I am not sure. Advocate, please just indicate if you're able to hear his comment.
No, I
question.
couldn't. I couldn't hear properly. I think there's some wind that is blowing. His window was open there. I couldn't hear him properly, but yeah.
Okay, no, I thought maybe then it was mine. Fanny, you can just DM me your comment or your question, then I will bring it up here with the rest of the team. Let me move on and I go to Joseph. Joseph, you can take the platform.
Okay, thank you very much, Apostle. I don't know if I'm audible enough for Mr. Dali Mpofu to understand.
Yes, now I can hear you clearly. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let me start by commending also the hard work that you guys are putting. We understand that it's a you guys are fighting a very big demon. I remember there was a case when the public protector was fighting the banks or the Reserve Bank. There was some attack at her home, and I understand how terrible the situation that you guys are faced with, and it's actually bigger than the demon that we faced during apartheid, because this one is systemic. It attacks individuals. It doesn't attack the entire race, and there could be less and less support, as you mentioned it. Let me just also add a comment there to say, I heard that the advocate Dali Mpofu mentioned that not all battles should be fought in the court of law or other platforms. There should be some sort of resistance from the public. But honestly, the public has been instilled fear. And of late, there's been more deaths in terms of people protesting. There are more deaths. I can just mention one example. Few days ago in Mpumalanga, 3 children were killed by the police, allegedly, because the police are now using ammunition, the same tactics which were used during apartheid. And this is exactly what the system is actually doing, to instill fear of resistance. So we understand that it is important to put up a big fight like the Arab Spring or what happened in Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, information war is actually bigger, and that is why there's some sort of relaxation. The question that I have is that in this situation that we find ourselves in, why is it that Cyril Ramaphosa is not treated like an ordinary citizen? Because in this example, if anyone else was to be found guilty, or if there's any report of any wrongdoing, it shouldn't take more than 24 hours for the police to raid that place and find evidence. So now, since the 1st of June, I'm not sure whether the Hawks or the SIU went to Palapala to find out if that is true, if whatever that is being presented is true. And the other comment that I also wanted to add there is that I think, in my personal capacity, that there was no questions answered. That is why the current public protector is fighting tooth and nail to make sure that Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane doesn't get into the office. Let me just stop there for the sake of time. Thank you.
Thank you kindly for your submission, Advocate.
Yeah, no, I don't think I agree with Joseph. There's nothing much to add. Yeah, and we really need to find ways to action our words. Yeah, by any means. I've said it so many times on this platform to say that we need to find a way to concretize these ideas, these good ideas, and go out there and make a difference in spite of the noise from the other side, because in fact, the noise that they make against you, you should see it almost as encouragement, because it means you are doing something good. If they praise you, then you must be worried. So I think that's the attitude that one should take, and the posture that you should take against the concentrated or orchestrated noise that gets developed if you are fighting the right cause. Yeah.
Thank you, Advocate. Mavela, due to the fact that you have spoken and sent questions, I'm going to give you literally 30 seconds. And then let me also apologize to those who are sending us requests. We did indicate that we are closing the space 10:30. We are already 1 hour 30 minutes into our extension. Now we're going into about 15 minutes thereof. So Mavela, you have exactly 30 seconds to make your submission. Then I will take Bo.
Thank you, Apostle. I just want to say, Advocate Dali Mpofu, I do commend umsebenzi wakho. Ima kanjalo qhawe, uhlala umile. Uyazi thina sibuya empini. Umolwa empini ubuya uhozukile. They will translate, don't can translate, but masilwa siyalwa. Uyabona, sibuya empini sinqobile, sibuya sinqobile. Do what you do best and protect South Africa, because you said those whom, like once they praise you, you're not doing something for the best. Once they fire you, you know you are doing your best. You how. Thank you, Apostle.
No, thank you very much, Mavela, for that. I think the advocate has already responded by saying thank you to that. Let me...
Amagwala afele empini, awulimi igwala uhlele endlini. Lifele empini kwa.
Bapeyinelwa.
No, most definitely, Azikal. Let me give Bo the platform. Bo will be our last speaker, and then I will direct the house after that. Bo. Oh, I think Bo, before you come, I want you to be the last speaker. I think I made an omission. I had noted David earlier on, and then I think I got comfortable with him not speaking for some time. So let me send my apologies. David, you have equally 30 seconds.
There's this thing called the extra time. And I must say, I'm going to ask that for you. In fact, Advocate Mpofu has lectured me. I'm watching him, in the Section 94 Parliamentary Committee. So I'm going to steal another minute, It's interesting. And I must say that, when this morning, I received a WhatsApp from a friend, and I saw this trending as well, that the acting public protector, even the signature is there, Dr. Mufumadi, on his status from the president. I think he's an advisor there. And I guess when the acting public protector wrote a letter to the attorneys, I guess, or to the public protector or whatever, when he says he'll wait for the directive from the president, that I don't understand, number one, because he can't say that he's waiting for the directive from the president. Where does the president get involved in this matter? Because the president's suspension was set aside. And I guess the SC perhaps for some ethical reason he didn't want to dwell much into the issue that when the matter was say with effect from now, that suspension is invalid. When he wrote a letter being sworn in, because I am not sure whether they sworn them in as well, as an acting public, because it ended around 3, acting capacity as an acting public protector. But that is a debate for another day. I'm not a legal person. Perhaps the advocate Mpofu and Alumandi for once today, he was very objective, but we lost one, Mr. Chewu. Constitution first is gone because he tried to come into the space, like those moles who are planted, in everywhere. Your Karen Mok and all these hyenas. The 17 from Daily Maverick, News 24. I can give you the names of all of them. They are taking the public, as I said earlier when we opened. Every 3 hours, there's an article taking the public protector, Advocate Mpofu, Judge Shope, and I think there's others as well. It's their mission, and I think they get paid to do that. But it will be interesting to see whether the Western Cape High Court will indeed allow this so-called DA, to be acting in bad faith like they did. Because, in other words, they just wanted to spite, this judgment to say, no ways, the public court won't go there. They even went to the Constitutional Court direct, and knowing that they've got the defense, Comrade Zondo there, it's a lawyer for our president, I guess. That's why he was appointed there with 2 votes. The JSC did not recommend him, and he knows that. And I think it's a fact, as he says, no blank pages. We should not be apologetic about this thing. We must say truth as it is, and Judge Zondo knows. And I've just seen now that he is applying to court to correct the state capture report. Advocate Mpofu, maybe I don't know, whether he wants to reverse other findings. Some people maybe arrested already. I don't know. But my last parting shot is that
let me
my last
remind you
parting
that
shot.
these are not 10 seconds.
Yeah, my last parting shot is that bravo. As I said earlier, I'm ashamed to be a member of the ANC because of what I'm seeing in the ANC now. And I must say that I'm proud of seeing what the EFF has done in other parties, your ATM, your UTM, and other parties. Just to make sure that people, those who some will open their eyes. Unfortunately, as I said, Mr. Chew, that some are brainwashed beyond repair. In fact, I even call it that some of them, they are even mourning as I speak. Some they were saying the president must half-mast our flag. I'm saying cease. That's my last parting shot. Cease for those black people who can't open their eyes. Thank you.
We are pausing. Sorry to jump in. I thought this was SC's card, but no, it's not. Apologies, SC Kaskan. Apologies.
Okay.
No, thank you very much. I am not sure. Oh, Mr. T, there was just a lot of echo, but I think we are fine now. Indeed, I cease to all members of the ANC and those who support the ANC. Mr. T, my apologies. I forgot that I'm a co-host sometimes, more especially when members of the ANC are on the platform. I lose all control because we are here because of them. But I'm protected because the leadership of the EFF is here, the Treasurer General is here, Komisa Fana is here. I'm protected, Mr. T. Unfortunately, you can't discipline me at this point. So let me take our last speaker for the night. Bo, you may come through. The platform is yours. I know you've been waiting for a very long time. Unfortunately, there were women before you, and as a supporter of women, I make no apology that I pushed you towards the end. But also, I am, as a spiritual person, I always tell people that I am not a politician, but as a spiritual person, I have a feeling that you are going to give us a well organized a kind of summary. Hence, I put you as the last speaker. You may take the platform.
is that is that your way of apologizing? There is this systematic thing with you and Mr. T. You always want me to be the sweeper. Um, nonetheless, I want to just say to Kim, um, I'll make good of my promise to reconnect with you, and I'll make good of that tomorrow. I promise. Participation on these spaces comes obviously with a great risk for people like myself. But what do? You're either with the truth as a person or you are not. Uh, there is this worry I hold about how the current judiciary has really lost its way. In South Africa, we have this silent system of court or judge shopping, where we almost know, um, if a matter is given to a particular division, how that division's ideological frame will render uh, that particular case. And you just rest assured that, oh, okay, no, I've lost it before even the case was filed, if I have to be in that particular division, because your position may be a very progressive one, legalistically. And I said earlier this week that there is a mistake that uh, black advocates or black lawyers in general are making in not understanding that uh, the fight against the PP does not just stop with her. It also goes deeper into how are these black lawyers, um, who she has contracted to advise and advocate on certain positions that she holds on various issues. That this divide, this ideological or theoretical divide, is a civil war within the legal fraternity itself, and the victors, or the ones who control the power currently, are really oppressing these other views of how the constitution uh, ought to be interpreted, and it's really damaging the way in which our jurisprudence uh, ought to develop in a balanced fashion. So you are likely in future to see a number of Concord decisions that we have already. You are likely to see them being reversed by future courts. It could be in 10 or 20 years from now, but you are likely to see that. Or, if not altered completely, just modified somewhere. Um, so I have a problem that we have this now silent Cold War between the upper elites of the white legal fraternity, in bed with the upper elite of the very upper elite of the black uh, in legal intellectuals, who really are not wanting some people to be involved, black people to be involved in shaping our jurisprudence as we go along. And that is very problematic for me. The judiciary, with its focus also on ethics and the rule of law, inevitably faces problems. There is no inspector general or an ombudsman for the judiciary. You don't know what guides them and when should they actually recuse themselves or not recuse themselves. It's up to a particular judge to decide whether they must recuse themselves or not. This self inspecting system, for me, is not adequate at all. And the judiciary is responsible for a very large budget, and many administrative functions, including technological systems, your court support, court security, and these can be susceptible to inefficiencies and waste, but no one has an eye over that. And we know of recent cases where they just internally say they are doing some review or investigation, and either a matter disappears or you don't know what happens with it. I also tweeted this afternoon the screen grab of Dr. Mufumadi. On its own, it means nothing when you just see it, because it looks like he's sharing a letter of the public protector. But remember, the letter is confidential, um, and therefore, leaking it and perhaps going far as breaching the government regulations on